In 2013, the Xbox One launched, and with it many ideas that seemed to be the right move. An all-in-one entertainment console that would please the gamers, movie fanatics, and those looking for new tech, like Kinect, that would tie all these technologies into one cohesive unit. Problem was, Microsoft themselves thought that this is what we wanted and didn't really ask their customers, fan base, or developers what they really wanted. What we're going to do in this video is compare how Microsoft again made decisions and moved forward on their next generation console, the Series X, by making policy and technological changes without thinking the entire thing through, or at least asking if that's what their vast majority of customers really wanted. As the saying goes, history has a way of repeating itself. So let's look at how the results of the 2020 release of the Series X may look a lot more like the 2013 launch of the Xbox One. Let's talk about it. Before we get into the video, please take a second to click the notification bell and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It is much appreciated, believe me. So, as we were saying in the intro, Xbox One was giving us technology that we didn't even know we might have wanted. What are some of these options? HDMI pass-through that you could use your cable box, Apple TV, or PC. Also, they introduced the Snap feature, which allowed you to open up a panel on the right side of your screen and watch TV or any other media while gaming. While this was an idea I loved, I can certainly understand how most felt that losing 25% of their screen to a picture-in-picture wasn't ideal. Xbox One also tried to continue with the success of the 360 with a customizable UI. Unfortunately, this didn't work out and actually launched with less features than the 360. Inviting friends to a party chat was troublesome for many. I personally didn't have any issues, but I will agree that the process was much more convoluted and complicated when it didn't have to be. The UI looked and felt as if it was rushed and shipped unfinished. And finally, one of the largest issues that still plagues Xbox to this very day was the fact that the console launched underpowered, hosting 8 gigabytes of DDR3 memory, and it was accompanied by 32 megabytes of ESRAM. Even in 2013, DDR3 wasn't considered cutting edge, and many thought that the system architecture would cause more of a bottleneck than the competitor's PS4 console. Kinect 2.0 was impressive with a 1080p HD camera, multi-microphone array, and IR blaster. However, during this time, many customers didn't feel the comfort of having a camera watching and listening to every move they made in the living room. Of course, this all sounds silly now, with Alexa and Google Home doing everything connected, but including even more home invasion into your privacy. But much like we are seeing in today's landscape, with Xbox seemingly changing direction with their No One Left Behind campaign, Kinect was no longer going to be required to be plugged into the console if the consumer didn't want it in their living room. Again, Microsoft listening to their audience, but when it was already too late. The opinions toward Kinect were already mostly negative, and that was an uphill battle for Xbox to fight. So here we are again, the Xbox Series X in 2020. It is clearly Xbox's, and anyone's for that matter's, most powerful console, delivering 4 times the processing power of an Xbox One. It harnesses 12 teraflops of GPU performance, twice that of the Xbox One X. It also hosts variable rate shading, hardware-accelerated DirectX ray tracing, and so much more. These improvements are all welcomed by gamers. It was the decision that someone made in Redmond to allow the 2013 Xbox One the ability to play the same games as the Xbox Series X. Herein lies the controversy. Halo Infinite, set to be Xbox Series X's debut game, has run into issues both internally, from a studio and personnel perspective, as well as a technical issue with creating 2 versions of the game and ensuring that the same experience is had by all Xbox owners. The pitch made by Phil Spencer was that, quote, Xbox One will not hold back Xbox Series X games, end quote. But even after this sales pitch was rolled out by Spencer, many developers took to the airwaves, not necessarily disagreeing with him, but questioning the logic behind game development and how the environments and AI were going to be able to grow and use the future technology in the Series X when they have to always keep the lowest common denominator in mind, in this case, the Xbox One from 2013 and low-end PCs. This caused a line to be drawn in the sand and everyone took a side, some believing what Spencer said and some trusting developers with obvious concerns. Well, we fast forward to July 23rd, and we finally had the ability to watch the Halo Infinite event we all couldn't wait to see debuted. But after watching the event, many felt that the concerned developers had a point, and the game looked more like an 8th generation game versus a new 9th generation game that showed off the true power of the Series X. So shortly after the show, Xbox delayed Halo Infinite with no new release date. That brings us to today's discussion. Now, months before the launch of the Series X, Microsoft seemingly had little to no new game releases with the most powerful console of all time. Yes, some will claim that the multiplats will look and run best on the Series X, and that is more than likely true. But these consoles are going to be expensive, and as I've always said, unless it's a timed exclusive, third-party games are on all consoles, so not many will buy an extra console to see the small differences that the third-party games will provide on the Series X. What I mean by this is both the PS5 and Series X are very powerful in comparison to their existing consoles of this generation. 4K, 1440p doesn't hold the weight of what 1080p versus 720p did back in 2013. Both will have a resolution mode and a performance mode. Sony knew this moving forward and clearly wasn't worried about the power crown. Instead, they focused on games and keeping the audience engaged with their first-party studios. So where does Xbox and Phil Spencer go now? This isn't just a question for anyone listening to this video. It's more than likely a question being asked in Redmond, Washington these days. One of the options rumored to be on the table is to drop the support of the Xbox One and move forward with only the Series X in mind. Now, this sounds like an easy transition, but it's not. First of all, Xbox would have to convey to their audience that once again, just like in 2013, they are shifting their strategy at the very last minute before release of the new consoles. We thought that Xbox team had learned and wouldn't need to pull another 180-degree change last minute. But that would be something that may have to happen, and happen soon, if they want to get Halo Infinite out in a decent amount of time. The other issue is the scale and magnitude of how much work needs to go into changing course so late in the game. As some developers have said, if they try to change the policy so that all games moving forward are for Series X only, they seemingly have to go back to the drawing board and recreate the environments, AI, some character models to represent this new experience. Please understand that I'm not speaking for developers. I'm just restating some of the concerns I've heard over the past few months. So, does Xbox go the route of 2013 and go back on their word of no gamers left behind and make a 180 breaking off from the current generation of Xbox One and focus solely on Series X? Or do they hold the line and keep their promise and include Xbox One in their immediate future plans and hold back the potential of the Series X? As I stated in the beginning of this video, history has a tendency to repeat itself. In this case, it's not a carbon copy of 2013, but it certainly is another possible 180-degree turn if Xbox decides to leave the Xbox One out of its future plans. Regardless of which direction, it seems that it will be quite a while before we see what Xbox's first party has in store for us as we enter next generation in just a few short months. That's what's seemingly on the table right now, and I'm interested to know what you all think. Leave a comment below, and I want to know what you think of the two options going forward and how each direction could affect where you buy and play games next generation. Even though the words pro-consumer have been overused in my personal opinion, I feel that Microsoft made the decision to go the route of no one gets left behind selfishly because their first-party studios weren't ready. So they used that sales pitch to make you feel like it's the right thing to do. But Sony and Nintendo don't feel that way, and honestly, I think we'll see this fall that many consumers also don't share this mindset. Only time will tell, but this truly reminds me of how 2013 played out when decisions made don't include what the masses want, but yet what a small, more vocal audience have been advocating for. Hopefully, Xbox can figure out what needs to be done and figure it out quickly. After all, we haven't seen much running on the Series X as of late. Let's hope that 2020 isn't a rerun of what we experienced in 2013. Really appreciate everyone stopping by and checking out this video. I'll be doing reviews and discussion pieces throughout the rest of the year and into next generation. Please subscribe and like the video. Can't even begin to explain how much that helps the channel. If you'd really like to help the channel, please consider becoming a member and get access to all the newest Mooch emotes. Don't forget to comment below, and we'll catch everyone in the next video. Thank you.